Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moments. Today is explanation of Swallowed Star episode number 134 based on novel. So let's start. Geniuses appeared one by one out of thin air within the preparation room. These were all geniuses from the different star fields in the Ganwu universe country. Their appearances were completely different and some even looked strange. Pushkin, that's Pushkin, and beside him is Janelli. The originally quiet room suddenly had a bit of a commotion, causing Luo Feng to open his eyes and look at the two humans that had just appeared. One of them was tall and sturdy and his face was filled with golden fur. This 6m tall participant looked like a giant ape man, and his terrifying eyes glowed green in color. His two huge fists especially were comparable to the size of two giant metal hammers. Pushkin. Luo Feng's mind swiftly recalled through the data the Black Dragon Mountain Empire had given him. Pushkin, an absolute genius that the Ganwu universe country imperial family had nurtured. He favored using his fists and had the power to break into the universe country's top 1,000. In the elimination, he was ranked 9th in the 89th world. Janelli. Luo Feng's eyes shifted from the golden ape man to the short man beside him. Even though he was referred to as being short, in truth this Janelli still had a height of 1.9 m, which is still taller than Luo Feng. However, standing beside a 2-story tall ape man, Pushkin naturally looked like a short person. Luo Feng didn't have any information on Janelli, because even the Black Dragon Mountain Empire didn't have any information on Janelli. Pushkin, sit here. Janelli's expression was thin and frail, his eyes cold, almost like a venomous scorpion. He gave off a feeling similar to Brolin Shan. Good. A thick powerful voice came from Pushkin's throat, even echoing about. Janelli and Pushkin walked directly towards Luo Feng and sat beside him. Peng. The chair Pushkin sat in wobbled. Luckily every preparation room had a huge amount of space, otherwise with his large structure, Pushkin would take up to 6 or 7 seats. Pushkin and Janelli sat down in the same row of seats that Luo Feng was sitting at. Janelli turned towards Luo Feng beside him and said coldly, sit further away. I don't like people close to me, you must be crazy. Luo Feng shot a glance at Janelli and said coldly, following which he closed his eyes and never looked at him again. Janelli's cold eyes suddenly burned with rage, staring hard at Luo Feng, almost like a snake eyeing its prey. However, in this preparation room, it was absolutely forbidden for anyone to make a move. As such, Janelli could only scoff coldly and close his eyes. Suddenly the noise from the dojo outside could be heard within. Attention all, the 382nd group of the Arena Wars is about to begin. Let me first introduce this group's 100 participants. A clear crisp voice resounded not only throughout the entire dojo, but could also be heard clearly within the preparation room, following which a wave of cheers followed. First, Pushkin, from the Ganwu universe country, ranked 9th in the 89th world of the elimination stage. Thunderous cheers erupted, causing the entire preparation room to tremble. That's Pushkin, right, that's him, his fists are extremely terrifying, don't ever get close to him. There was soft discussion within the room. Number 2, Janelli, from the Ganwu universe country, ranked 21 in the 13th world of the elimination stage. The commentator's voice, every genius within the room could hear very clearly. Only then did Luo Feng open his eyes and glanced at the gold-armored, cold-looking youth beside him. This Janelli, who was actually able to be ranked number 2 within this 100 people, he was very strong. 3 road, 4th, 5th, Luo Feng, from the Black Dragon Mountain Empire, ranked 51st in the first world of the elimination stage. The cheers were thunderous, as over 1 million supporters from the Black Dragon Mountain Empire roared. Black Dragon Mountain Island, over 1,000 people gathered in a luxurious palace. Dressed in a dark golden imperial robe, the emperor sat high above. Below him was the entire Black Dragon Mountain Empire's many imperial subjects. Because of the everlasting reign of the imperial family, the numbers of subjects within the empire were up to 100 million. Hence to be able to enter this level of imperial gathering, they were definitely the imperial family's most elite. They were either sector lords or domain lords. There were even queens that governed and managed different sectors, or that group of princes that would someday succeed the throne. Or some other high-positioned females in the imperial family. It's Luo Feng. There was silence in the palace. Over 1,000 of the imperial family watched that floating large screen, and on it was the live broadcast. All that could be seen was that beautiful commentator smiling as she introduced, 5th, Luo Feng, from the Black Dragon Mountain Empire, ranked 51st in the first world of the elimination stage. Simultaneously, the screen also had information and an image of Luo Feng. It's Luo Feng, haha, Luo Feng will easily pass the Arena Wars battle. Looking at his image, this Luo Feng isn't some ordinary person. His gaze is filled with killing intent. There was discussions rampant throughout the palace, as all of them were speaking highly of Luo Feng. Who would dare to speak ill of him? This was the highest of imperial gatherings, this genius battle. The geniuses of the Black Dragon Mountain Empire were only left with this one seedling, Luo Feng. If he lost too, then the Black Dragon Mountain Empire would really lose all its honor and face. With successive outs from the previous two participants who did not make it into the top 10,000, while other middle-level civilization countries had participants that had made it through, it obviously made them fall behind by quite a bit. Ha ha, the emperor's laugh was clear and bright. With all his subjects complimenting Luo Feng, there was however one prince out of the many whose eyes were filled with shock. This was none other than the 9th Prince Brolin. Out of the over 1,000 subjects there, Brolin looked happy on the outside, but he could barely hold it in, as he had already realized the perilous situation he was in. This Luo Feng, it's actually him. Even though the reputation of Luo Feng was huge, as the elimination stage wasn't broadcasted, there was much information about these geniuses that the outside world didn't know. Only some large powers were able to dig up these details. For example, the Black Dragon Mountain Empire had sent a special envoy team, just like how some large organizations had also sent some people over to pay Luo Feng a visit. These were all because these powers had methods to find Luo Feng through the virtual universe company and thus his address within the virtual universe. However, Brolin, who was only a prince, was forbidden from any of the Empire's information systems and mail systems. Hence, he didn't even know Luo Feng's appearance. Luo Feng, he is Luo Feng? Brolin grit his teeth. Big trouble. Finding trouble with Luo Feng? He no longer any such ideas, because he was very clear that with Luo Feng's reputation he could easily join some super organizations that could cause even the Black Dragon Mountain Empire to fear. He didn't want to mess with Luo Feng anymore. However, he was worried that Luo Feng would remember how back then he had sent people to use the laser guns to kill the 12 targets, and also sent a team to chase and kill Luo Feng. Would he remember these incidents and hold a grudge? I'll temporarily not mess with him. As long as I am within the Imperial City, he doesn't have the ability to mess with me. Brolin grit his teeth. Above the palace, the Emperor was sitting beside the two sector lords and chatting. But Asuka, what chance does this Luo Feng have? The Emperor couldn't help but say softly, pretty big chance, but there's still danger. Beside him the silver long-bearded old man creased his eyebrows. Your Majesty should know that of the 100,100 that made it through the elimination, close to a half of them are the special elite specially nurtured by the different imperial families of the universe country. The Emperor nodded. The country leader of the Ganwu universe country had sent over 100 million elite geniuses to participate. There were a total of over 800 million people in the first stage. This group didn't stand out much. However, among those that made it through the elimination stage, over 40,000 of them were from the group that the Ganwu universe country leader sent. It was very obvious that the universe country's imperial family had powerful geniuses and inside information. The top ranker within Luo Feng's group right now is Pushkin, followed by Janelli. Of the top 10 in this group, 6 of them are all elite specially nurtured by the Ganwu universe country's imperial family. The old man shook his head. The worst-case scenario would be for Luo Feng to get surrounded and ganged up on. Royal uncle, do you see? The Emperor looked at the other sector lord beside him. Also dressed in a dark golden imperial robe, the uncle smiled. Your Majesty, worrying right now is useless and we are not even clear about this Luo Feng's true power. Just watch. The fights will begin very shortly, just watch. The Emperor could only nod. On island number 29109, the dojo was already filled with a sea of people. Daddy is number 5. Mommy, are the 4 before Daddy stronger than him? Ping Ping asked curiously. That's the ranking. Shushin smiled. The 4 before him are ranked higher, but their strengths may not be more powerful than your daddy. Oh. Ping Ping nodded. Beside Little Hai was muttering, Daddy is the strongest, the strongest. Around him sat many people from Earth, such as Hong and Thunder God with their families along with Luo Feng's parents etc. Third brother will definitely win. Hong stared at the center of the dojo. Thunder God stared too. Right now, of the 3 brothers only Luo Feng was left in this genius battle. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The beautiful commentator shouted excitedly, as the entire atmosphere in the dojo reached its peak. Rumble. The entire dojo roared and tremored. The beautiful commentator immediately vanished, and at the same time 100 human silhouettes appeared within the center at different positions. It was the 100 geniuses that were being introduced. Some were really tall and fit, while others were filled with fur or had horns. It seemed like their appearances all differed. However, the similarity was they stood at the peak of humanity, Pushkin, Kuan, Luo Feng. The cheering alone could split the mountains and earth. The roars from 1 billion spectators seemed like it could shake and crumble the entire dojo itself. Within the dojo, including Luo Feng, the 100 geniuses all heard the cheers of the 1 billion people and couldn't help but feel a surge of adrenaline. Looking around, there was no end to these spectators who were all from different starfields. And Luo Feng was able to pick out those shouting his name and look towards the direction. That way, that's the people from the Black Dragon Mountain Empire. Luo Feng looked in that direction. It was a blur of people. Silence. Within the battle arena, there was nothing but silence. The 100 geniuses all gathered their focus as this battle would last only 15 minutes. Within these 15 minutes, the battle space would constantly shrink until there was only 1 left. Let the battle begin. A low voice immediately resounded within the minds of the 1 billion spectators along with the 100 geniuses in the dojo. All sorts of colorful energy flow exploded within the dojo. Of these 100 geniuses, 48 of them were from the Ganwu Universe Imperial family side. However, only 10 survivors were destined to make it out of this battle. Even though the battle within the arena seemed chaotic, there were always participants who had a mutual understanding to team up. Especially amongst the strongest like Pushkin and Janelli, who were definitely helping each other. Ao Fei Shiosai, Kazan, you two go and kill that black-haired punk. Janelli was surrounded by a black energy flow. He communicated via genetic energy, simultaneously brandishing 2 long arc blades. Understood. No problem, leave it up to us. Ao Fei Shiosai and Kazan immediately headed towards Luo Feng. At this time, the mass battles within the dojo of geniuses had already begun. Shio. A bolt of lightning shot towards Ao Fei Shiosai, bastard. Ao Fei Shiosai and Kazan could only stop and first deal with the punks that provoked them. Pushkin, who was dressed in a genetic energy armor, was tall and sturdy like a war god. His 2 fists that were even bigger than hammers were covered in malevolent gloves. His surroundings were filled with a yellow energy flow. With 1 step, he rushed into the group of geniuses and his huge fist pummeled towards a weak and frail-looking warrior, Peng. With just 1 punch, the enemy's blades flew away, while the second fist was landing straight on the enemy's forehead. Death. The war god like Pushkin waved his fists. With 1 swing after another, they were not only as heavy as mountains, but fast and unpredictable as well. They sometimes became pointy claws, and the moment he drew close to a person it was simply a nightmare. Pushkin, within the blink of an eye, he had killed 2 geniuses, causing all the other geniuses around to increase their distance from him. However, his movements were swift. Every single step allowed him to lunge forward and close a large distance. At this time it wasn't just Pushkin, even Janelli and the others were all making their moves. In the distance, stepping on the soaring shuttle, Luo Feng was carrying a thick dark golden long rod on his back. Amongst the many geniuses, he was considered skinny, however he had an aura that made the others' hearts palpitate. Luo Feng's gaze was cold and filled with killing intent. Right now, there are still many opponents, there's no time to waste. I have to end this battle fast. Kill them all directly, kill. A youth surrounded by a green energy flow, carrying a shield and an axe rushed straight towards the closest opponent, Luo Feng, courting death. Floating in mid-air, the dark golden long rod on Luo Feng's back suddenly shot out a golden beam of light. At the same time the light shot out, a large amount of complex golden patterns followed along its trail, infused with peculiar golden law origin ripples. A dreamy golden blade was suddenly formed. The large amount of golden energy surrounded Luo Feng, wrapping itself around that golden blade, and finally shooting out illusion blade technique. Luo Feng controlled it with all his willpower, using his full strength to unleash its greatest power. The first move he made at the arena war. Luo Feng had already taken out his full strength, rumble. A golden rainbow immediately clashed into that youth's shield which was put up last minute. With a loud clang, the youth's bones in his arm cracked and broke just from the impact. How? The youth's eyes were filled with shock and fear. However, that golden rainbow suddenly curved slightly and shot towards his forehead. The golden rainbow shot right through his forehead. Its strength and speed infused with terrifying piercing power didn't seem to slow down at all as it followed a pattern and rushed towards the next genius. What? That beautiful bewitching lady with purple hair had a surprised look on her face and almost couldn't react in time. She hurriedly controlled her spirit weapon to block. The golden rainbow was extremely powerful and strong as it forced its way through the defenses, hitting straight into the flying weapons, after which it pierced through that purple-haired lady's forehead. The golden rainbow finally arced and returned to Luo Feng's side. This golden rainbow was actually a blurry illusionary golden blade. My god, so powerful. The surrounding geniuses were all filled with shock and fear as their expressions changing greatly. With just one move, he killed two geniuses back to back. One had to know that these were all powerful geniuses that had made it through the first elimination. Every one of them was considered to be at the pinnacle of strength at their levels, and definitely not some random cannon fodder. Even Pushkin had to focus all his strength on one opponent before actually heading on to the next. But the black-haired youth before them, with just one golden beam of light, he was immediately able to kill two people. This was extremely tyrannical. Is that strong? Origin laws? He definitely has some comprehension of the origin laws, Janelli, that bastard. He actually wants us to kill him. How can we kill him? Ao Fei, Xiao Sai and Kazan, who were originally flying towards Luo Feng but got distracted by others attacking them, just managed to kill their opponents. However, after watching Luo Feng kill the two geniuses consecutively with one golden light, the both of them quickly stopped. Let's go. The two of them turned to leave. Who would dare mess with Luo Feng? It was obvious. This black-haired youth was a warrior that had stepped through the entrance of the origin laws, and his power was probably even crazier than Pushkin. Those two. Luo Feng's gaze swept around after killing the two geniuses and discovered the two closest geniuses, Ao Fei, Xiao Sai and Kazan. He immediately stepped on his soaring shuttle and swiftly flew towards them. As a warrior who stepped through the entrance of the origin laws, his speed at controlling the soaring shuttle was extremely shocking. His coming. Ao Fei, Xiao Sai and Kazan's expressions changed. A resplendent golden rainbow immediately shot towards them. Kazan, who was flying behind, quickly waved the huge axe in his hand. Clatter! Kazan could only feel an immensely incomparable amount of energy transfer over from his axe. The right handle immediately bent and broke. Simultaneously his right hand grew numb and unable to hold onto the axe. That golden rainbow simply shot like a bullet right through his forehead, and continued to chase after the fleeing Ao Fei, Xiao Sai. The golden illusion blade was too fast, he couldn't even get far. It's over. Ao Fei, Xiao Sai's eyes revealed shock and unwillingness, after which it was filled with hate as he stared at the distant Janelli's shocked face, communicating hatefully. Janelli, the golden illusion blade that was infused with the golden origin laws, was as strong and piercing as the sun. Even though Ao Fei, Xiao Sai was ranked extremely high in his world during the elimination stage, he was still easily killed. The spectators were all silent. Pushkin massacring was within everyone's predictions. After all, he was ranked the highest in his group. However, the 1 billion spectators from the various star fields had never expected this. Luo Feng, who was ranked number 5 in his group, was actually so intrepid. Even more so than that war god like Pushkin. Luo Feng, over 1 million spectators from the Black Dragon Mountain Empire all stared wide-eyed with glee, many roaring with excitement as their eyes filled with madness. Daddy! Daddy! Little Hai and Ping Ping both stood up on their chairs, shouting with all their might, "Third brother!" Hong and Thunder God stood up too. Big brother sure is powerful. Luo Hua couldn't help but mutter softly, "Your brother-in-law." Shu Gang stared wide-eyed. Beside him Shu Xin too was filled with excitement, her eyes glued to the center of the arena. And around then the over 1 million people from the Black Dragon Mountain Empire too had lost it. This was the unexpected surprise Luo Feng had given to countless from the Black Dragon Mountain Empire. They all shouted for Luo Feng's victory as they were mesmerized by Luo Feng's strength. In the past, they didn't have anything to back up their words. After all, the results of the battles from the Black Dragon Mountain Empire from the past had always been poor. They had nothing to support them. However, now, they had the right to roar. They had the right to boast proudly, "Luo Feng, Luo Feng." They all madly roared, excitedly cheering, shaking the entire earth and heavens. Within that luxurious palace on Black Dragon Mountain Island, the Black Dragon Mountain Empire's imperial family were all staring hard at the screen. They saw Luo Feng unleash his strength, killing the two geniuses in an instant, and chasing and killing the other two right after. As they watched the other geniuses, who were all scared silly, all fleeing far and not daring to approach Luo Feng, the entire palace erupted. The emperor fiercely slapped the throne, shouting out, "Good, congratulations, your majesty, congratulations." Immediately the people below shouted, "Royal father, this Luo Feng is obviously the strongest one there. After this battle, who would dare call our Black Dragon Mountain Empire weak?" The third prince was the first to stand, shouting proudly, "Nanshan armament." The silver-haired old man Bu Durasuka said, "Right, it's the Nanshan armament." Beside him the royal uncle nodded too, "Nanshan armament?" The Emperor was shocked. One of the 9 god weapons of the controller, that Nanshan armament? That dark golden long rod, I initially thought it was a close combat rod-like weapon. The silver-haired old man Bu Durasuka said, just now what Luo Feng used was, the first move, the illusion blade of the Nanshan armament. Looking at how he used it, he obviously has a good grasp at the first level. To be able to unleash it like that at the star level, he could be said to be invincible within the entire star level. Even within the Ganwu universe, the number of people who are able to match up to Luo Feng are extremely rare, right? To be able to unleash the first level, one has to have a comprehension of the golden origin laws. The royal uncle beside said, meaning, Luo Feng is a genius that has stepped through the gateway of the origin laws. And according to the estimate of the genius battle, within the Ganwu universe, the number of geniuses that have stepped through the origin laws gateway is only about 100, and the arena wars are split into 1,000 a group. The chances of another with origin laws comprehension appearing is extremely rare unless there's another absolute warrior like Luo Feng who didn't reveal his true strength in the first elimination stage. Just like the last time when Hong took the stage, that lady warrior was definitely one who stepped through the gateway of the origin laws. However, her rank was still only in the 10s, creating a chance for both the warriors who had comprehended the laws to meet. The royal uncle emphasized. Indeed. Back during the 100-world elimination stage, every world had a few with origin law comprehension, like Luo Feng and Windmill. However, they confined themselves to their own city. If the two had wandered about into other cities, and defeated the absolute warriors from there with their strengths, these two could have easily rushed into their world's top 10. The moment they made it into the top 10. According to their ranking, Luo Feng and Pushkin would definitely not have been in the same group. Within the arena, Janelli could only hear that rage-filled roar from Ao Fei Xiao Sai resound within his ears. Janelli didn't even have time to think about his death, his gaze fixed on the distant Luo Feng. Within he was filled with shock and rage. This insolent punk, he actually. After killing both of them, Luo Feng turned and his cold gaze fixed on Janelli. These geniuses were all scared away by Luo Feng's unreasonable and powerful strength. Hence, he was left with nobody around him as they all avoided him at great lengths, causing Luo Feng to have to look for his own prey. His gaze immediately landed on the distant cold-demeanored gold-clothed youth Janelli. Janelli too was looking over at the time, sit further away. In the preparation room, that Janelli had coldly berated Luo Feng. That scene immediately popped up in Luo Feng's mind. Since it was that way, the next prey will be him, kill. Luo Feng's eyes were filled with killing intent. The soaring shuttle became a beam of light and shot towards Janelli. Bastard. How could I randomly meet such a powerful one? Janelli grit his teeth and thought as he was filled with hatred. However, as one of the elites nurtured by the Ganwu Universe Imperial family, he was very clear of the difference between a warrior who had stepped through the gateway of the origin laws compared to one who hadn't. Hence he clenched his teeth and turned around to flee. Pushkin. Like a war god slaughtering his way through the crowd, Pushkin creased his eyebrows. That black-haired punk wants to kill me. Janelli communicated, help me block him. You really know how to stir up trouble. Pushkin said with a thick low voice, resounding within Janelli's ear. According to power and rank in this group, Pushkin was number 1 while Janelli was number 2. Since they came from the same group, Janelli had long ago roped Pushkin in and made a deal with him. With the two of them working together, they would easily pass the arena wars. Originally, a team made up of the top 2 within a group would have been able to automatically pass the arena wars. This was almost something set in stone. It couldn't be helped that Janelli had messed with Luo Feng. If Janelli hadn't riled him up earlier, even though Luo Feng was strong, he still wouldn't willingly go pick a fight with both the number 1 and 2 of the group. After all, you only needed to make it till the top 10 of the group, he didn't need to risk it all. However, now rumble. Pushkin took one step and rushed straight before Janello, his huge eyes glowing green as he stared at Luo Feng, communicating, Janelli was wrong, however we don't have to fight it out. If you spare Janelli's life, we can all pass the arena wars. Luo Feng stood on the soaring shuttle and looked at the giant before him. Pushkin, who was 2 stories tall, stood before him like a building, and compared to that Luo Feng seemed like a small child. Pushkin. Luo Feng stared coldly at his opponent and roared, make way. Pushkin however seemed enraged, as though prepared to say something. Luo Feng's eyes gleamed and flashed. Rumble. The gold rainbow immediately shot directly towards him and Pushkin's expression changed greatly. Roaring while waving his right fist, which was wrapped in an earthen yellow energy flow, the movement of his hand was almost like moving a mountain, seemingly slow, yet it actually managed to block Luo Feng's golden rainbow. All that could be heard was a earth-shattering rumble and clash. Pushkin was forced back close to 10 m, as he grit his teeth and stared at Luo Feng. Luo Feng was taken aback. The data on this Pushkin said he hadn't stepped through the gateway of the origin laws. Looking at him right now, that seems to be true. However, with a domain level 9, he's actually able to produce such strong power. Even at domain level 6, Hong could still kill an enemy with a domain of level 7. The factors that determine a victor in a battle were not only because of genetic energy, boundaries and origin laws, but also willpower, mental state, experience, etc. If one simply didn't have any willpower or heart to resist, he wouldn't be able to unleash even half of his strength. While if one has a strong battle spirit and is extremely passionate along with a powerful willpower, he could exceed his standards and unleash more than his actual power. And Pushkin's, who had a domain level 9, was able to reach rank 9 in the 89th world. Considering this, his battle strength alone was indeed shocking. However, there was still a huge difference between one who had stepped through the gateway of the origin laws and one who hadn't. Pushkin, you are not my match. Make way, otherwise you won't even be able to make it through the arena wars. Luo Feng stood on the soaring shuttle, coldly looking down at Pushkin, and spoke to him. To actually kill Pushkin, he estimated it would take quite a bit of time. By that time more people would have died in the arena, and the moment only 10 were left, the battle would be over. It could very likely result in Janelli escaping and surviving. Pushkin clenched his fists and stared hard at Luo Feng once with his big green eyes before biting down fiercely and heading away towards the distant group of geniuses who were still battling. Pushkin. Hiding in the back, Janelli roared urgently via genetic energy, arg arg arg. Pushkin roared madly while waving his fists about and killing the geniuses one by one. Luo Feng looked at Janelli. Everything was going according to his plan. Within this group of 100, he was the only one who had stepped through the gateway of the origin laws. As he was also using the Nanshan armament, with just one move Luo Feng could tell that Pushkin was already injured. If he had continued to fight on, Pushkin would definitely die without doubt. Luo Feng didn't want to waste any more time on Pushkin. Pushkin didn't want to let himself die because of Janelli either. Hence he chose not to fight as it was the best option for him. Bastard. That Janelli cursed under his breath while fleeing as fast as he could. Fleeing? Luo Feng quickly chased after him with the soaring shuttle, so fast. Janelli's expression changed drastically. Once one comprehended the origin laws, whether it was based on attack, defense, flight, or movement, these areas would all have great improvements. Luo Feng had caught up with Janelli in the blink of an eye. Scum, 2 long arc blades. He had a complicated struggling expression as he shouted, go and die. With a step, the space itself seemed to warp around him as Janelli suddenly rushed towards Luo Feng, light domain. Luo Feng scorned coldly, swiftly retreating. First technique. Luo Feng's gaze was cold. Compared to some who had stepped through the gateway of the origin laws, Luo Feng was even more intrepid. That was because the laws that he had comprehension of could be completely unleashed through the Nanshan armament. Rumble. The golden rainbow shot like a beam of golden light and attacked Janelli in an instant. Clang. Janelli crossed his blades and pushed them forward. Following that one clash, his entire body and throat trembled from the shock as he spit out fresh blood that was rising up his throat. Just like the absolute geniuses in the Ganwu secret areas, once one had a comprehension of the gold origin laws, they would indeed have a crazy amount of power. He actually blocked it. Luo Feng creased his eyebrows. Rumble. The golden rainbow shot once again towards him. I can't block it head on, however I have no other choice. At the same time, it's too fast and I have no time to dodge it. Janelli thought hard to come up with a solution. He could only use his 2 blades to block it again. However, this time his arms had already weakened and he was already injured from the first blow. The 2 blades were immediately knocked away, while the golden rainbow slightly arced and pierced right through the pale-looking Janelli, right through his forehead. His head exploded. Janelli died. Completely eliminated from the tournament. This scene caused the distant Pushkin, whose face filled with golden fur, to twitch his facial muscles. That Janelle actually only managed to block it one time and died the moment Luo Feng's second attack was unleashed. And Ao Fei Shiosai couldn't even block it once. It's 2-2, I'm afraid I would only be able to block it 4 or 5 times at most. This bastard is too strong. Gold was as bright and strong as the sun, incomparably sharp. In terms of force-matching force, the people with the gold origin laws were the most valiant. The entire battle lasted only about 5 minutes and the number of survivors had already reduced to 10. The battle was over. This madman, that bastard is a madman, that black-haired punk, just who is he? The surviving geniuses all looked at Luo Feng with hidden fear. However, many of them didn't even know Luo Feng's name. Because, during the introduction, they were all in the preparation room and did not get the chance to see Luo Feng's image. Actually, Luo Feng too didn't know most of the participants' name. It is more accurate to say that he only knew Pushkin and Janelli's name. Their reputation was huge. And Luo Feng's fame compared to theirs was very small. The 382nd group of the Arena Wars, 90 have been eliminated and the remaining 10 will have the right to contend for the spot in the 900 slots of the name list. A low voice resounded with the minds of everyone in the dojo. The other 9 survivors, including Pushkin, all looked at the black-haired youth carrying the dark golden long rod filled with killing intent. If one said that the most fearless in Hong's group was Savage, then this group's most fearless person was undoubtedly the madman Luo Feng, Luo Feng, Luo Feng, Luo Feng. The over 1 million Black Dragon Mountain Star Field spectators roared with a lot of passion and enthusiasm. All of them were shouting with strength and hysteria, their expressions seemingly mad, and not even caring at all about their throats. The entire dojo, the ones who had the most right to roar like that, were the people from the Black Dragon Mountain Star Field. Their roar shook the earth and heavens. He is Luo Feng? As they were being teleported out, the 9 other survivors began to discuss and guess. Eruption. The Black Dragon Mountain Imperial Palace had erupted. The entire Black Dragon Mountain Island's trillion citizens all erupted. The entire starfield's over 8,000 galaxies, countless people watching the broadcast, all erupted. Too brutal, too powerful. Luo Feng is too fearless, thrilling, strong. He is a genius from our Black Dragon Mountain Starfield. Yes, from our Black Dragon Mountain Starfield. The countless people from the Empire were incomparably excited. In the past 100,000 to a million years, there were indeed several times the Black Dragon Mountain Empire had people rush into the top 10,000, which was worthy of their excitement and pride. However, after making it into the top 10,000, it was mostly based on luck. It had been a long time since the Black Dragon Mountain Empire had such a tyrannical display of power from its warriors in such an elite battleground. Yes, brutal. Savage. In this arena wars, I'm the #1 man. I'll kill whomever I want. I will create a path of slaughter. Even the war god like Pushkin had to lower his head and cower away. In the arena, Luo Feng was the king. The emperor. The others all had to lower their heads. Too thrilling. Luo Feng's power is too dominating. It was a total decimation with no resistance at all. Those weaker ones were simply cleared away with one move. I heard Luo Feng uses the Nanshan armament. Don't you know what that is? That's one of the 9 godly weapons for the Spirit Reader controllers. After the arena wars comes the 1v1 battles. Luo Feng's strength will definitely be able to make it into that 900 name list. Luo Feng will definitely be able to represent the Ganwu universe country and compete with the other geniuses from the other universe countries. Haha, Luo Feng is from our Black Dragon Mountain Empire. Madness. Much news regarding Luo Feng began to circulate, including many fan clubs that swiftly began to form in order to support him. In many virtual universe games, there were many "I love you Luo Feng," or "Luo Feng the Master," or "Luo Feng's wife," or "I am Luo Feng's senior," even "I am Luo Feng's master." Such nicknames surfaced all over. During this battle, Luo Feng's strength had won over 1 trillion people. This video will end here. Thank you for watching.